The movie The Rock? What does that have to do with Arkham Horror? Hey everybody, this is Robert from Black Belt Gaming. I hope you're doing well. I'm fighting a cold, but that's not going to stop me from trying Arkham Horror the card game for the first time. In preparation for this game, I was kind of inspired by a movie we were watching recently. The movie was called The Rock. This came out, I believe, in the 1990s. Anyway, there was a good pair of characters here, Sean Connery and Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage was a chemical weapons specialist, and Sean Connery was sort of a an older British intelligence, almost like a retired James Bond type of character. And the two of them made a great pair in the movie. So I was looking for a good pair of investigators to try here for my first time, and kind of enjoying that film, I thought I would pair up Harvey Walters as our skills specialist, along with Nathaniel Cho to be our tough man. So maybe Nathaniel can take on the challenges as they come, the monsters and such, and let Harvey Walters do his job and investigate this and get to the bottom of this mystery. This first scenario in the core box, and I have the older core box, is called The Gathering. And basically around Massachusetts in this area, there have been some townspeople mysteriously disappearing, and they find the corpses, and the corpses appear to be partially eaten. They're saying it's wild animals or something like that, but you and your partner, the investigators think something else is going on. So, what is going on? It's late at night and you're holed up in your study, researching the bloody disappearances that have been taking place in the region. A few hours into your research, you hear the sound of strange chanting coming from your parlor down the hall. At the same time, you hear dirt churning as if something were digging beneath the floor. Well, our investigators begin trapped. You leap to investigate, and the door to your study vanishes before your eyes, leaving behind only solid wall. You're trapped inside your study until you can find another way out. So our investigators start in the study. It says you've been investigating the strange events occurring in Arkham for several days now. Your desk is covered in newspaper articles, police reports, and witness accounts. So we need to turn this over and put our investigators there. There are 2 clues per investigator. That's going to total 4 clues that need to be or can be collected from this area. We'll need to make skill checks beating a difficulty of 2 or higher. Anyway, as we go along, if you see any mistakes I'm making along the way, please let me know. This is really my first shot. So for the difficulty, being my first game, I've decided to go with the easy difficulty. So tokens have been collected, and it's going to be for the easy setting. Got my round sequence and actions. Got my area here for the investigators, and I'm using the pre-constructed decks that these investigators came with. These did not come in the core box. These were purchased as individual investigator packs, so I have no idea if they're good or bad. We'll have to find out. Each investigator will begin with 5 resources, and we'll go ahead and draw, I think it was 5 cards for each investigator. I got a weakness card in my opening hand. I'll have to check if that's okay. Let's take a look at Harvey Walters here. It just says, after an investigator at your location draws 1 or more cards from their deck during the investigation phase, that investigator draws an additional card. and it's limited for once per round. And if you get the, I guess it's an elder sign there on the tokens, you get to draw a card, an extra card. Nathaniel Cho, when dealing damage to an enemy by an event or a fight ability on an event, deal 1 additional damage, also a limit of once per phase. If you get the Elder Sign, +1 if this is a skill test and is successful during an attack. Return an event from your discard pile to your hand. So we'll try to keep an eye on those as we go through our checks. All right, so right in the Learn to Play manual during setup, it said that if you happen to draw a weakness card at the very start, you're supposed to take that out, draw another card, and put it into your hand, and then we have to shuffle this back into our deck, and it'll just come up later. Let's see how Nathaniel does. 5 cards, I believe, and no sign of weaknesses in his open hand. All right, so looking at the round sequence, it looks like the Mythos phase is skipped for this first round, and we can jump right in and let the investigators start taking some actions. Well, we're going to have Harvey Walters as our lead investigator, and as he starts, he's going to go first. He's going to play a laboratory assistant, so maybe there's an assistant in there helping this team. So to do that, that's going to cost us 2 resources. Right up here is the cost, I believe. We'll pay that and get her onto the board. She will increase our hand size by 2 cards. And after she enters play, we get to draw 2 cards. So the normal hand size is 8 cards, it says. So I guess with her with us, we have a hand size of 10. So we get to draw 2 cards, and we get to use Harvey Walters' abilities because it's during the investigator or investigation phase. We can draw an additional card. And we got our weakness. Well, we have to put this into play in our threat area. When your turn begins, you have to discard a non-weakness card at random from your hand, and it takes 2 actions to get rid of this. So we'll put that in our area as well. Well, this is going to start eating into our actions at some point. I guess we might as well try to get it out of the way. We have 2 actions remaining, so why don't we go ahead and spend both of those since we don't have a monster in our face, and go ahead and discard Obsessive. So that's going to go into our discard pile. Well, unfortunately, Harvey didn't get any clues. His turn is over. We sort of switch him over to his black and white side, and now we'll let Cho take his actions. Well, this one kind of looks good. It's expensive. It costs 5 resources, but it's an ally. It's a hunter. And we get +1 fight and +1, it's got a book symbol. It could be investigate or something. And it says, after you defeat an enemy, we can exhaust Wagner and deal 1 damage to her to discover a clue at your location or a connecting location. Well, let's go ahead and bring out this ally. All right, so Nathaniel has his ally out, and I think for his second action, why don't we attempt and investigate? So she gives, I looked it up, it's intellect. She gives a +1 to his intellect. So looking up here, he has a 2. That's going to be a total of 3. And the difficulty level, remember, is 2 for this room. It's not that high. So let's go for a skill check here, or a skill test. So my tokens are in this container. My version of the game did not come with a bag. So I just need to draw one of these, and we get this skull. And I think that had to do with ghouls at your location. minus X, where X is the number of enemy ghouls. So we don't have any. So that gives us an intellect of 3, which is equal to or greater than 2. We can take one of these clues and put it on Nathaniel's character card. I guess for his next action, why don't we have Nathaniel play Relentless? It costs 0, and it should be a way that by doing some damage, we should be able to start getting a collection that we can take from later to get some more resources, so that might help. Well, that's it. I think that ends round 1. So what happens now is we would go to the enemy phase, but we don't have any enemies on the board yet. So we go to upkeep. We reset and flip over our mini cards. And then we exhaust any cards, or unexhaust any cards that were exhausted. And we draw 1 investigator card for each of them. We got Forbidden Tome for our Harvey Walters the Professor. Nathaniel got his boxing gloves. And then each one of our investigators gains a resource. So that, my friends, I believe finishes round 1.